You know what, everybody? Welcome back to another week with the Five Guys on Live. Hey, oh, look at Mama in the back. Hey, Mama Beer is live and in the house.
How y'all doing?
Hey, hey.
Okay. I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and handle y'all business, but
No, you can replace Darius. It's okay. Y'all can swap.
Yeah, Mama Beer. What is the one topic that you want to hear what these men have to say or share?
You look at me. Why are you looking at me?
Oh yeah. Sister Johnson down there in South Georgia, down in Brunswick, Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah, Sister Johnson is going to be held accountable for her actions. In the in the case where Ahmaud Arbery was murdered. That takes us right off the bat to you, Darius. This is your topic as we are seeking justice. What are your thoughts here?
All right, yeah. So former Georgia District Attorney Jackie Johnson, age 49, was arrested and booked for violation of oath and obstruction in the Ahmaud Arbery murder case. She was indicted by a grand jury last week for her trying to, I guess, keep the, it took, how many days did it take for them to even issue for an arrest? Was it 77?
Way too many days. This is something that happened in February of 2020.
Right.
It didn't even see the light of day until the killing of George Floyd made national headlines. And that is what motivated and spurred people to share this information. And had it not been for the leaked video footage from the Glenn County Police Department, we would have never seen this happen. This district attorney tried to fight it. Numerous other people tried to block it, including major officials, and that's coming out. So it was too many days. At least 60 to at least I'm thinking at least 90 to 120 days.
Yeah, it was in May when the whole video came out, because the video was sent to a Brunswick, Georgia radio station, and that's how it got on out. So that was like May 2020.
I want to know, what do you guys think? Should they lock her up and throw away the key, or was she just doing what she was supposed to do? Did she understand the assignment, or did she just fail?
I think she understood her assignment, and that was her assignment to do what she did. As far as the assignment of her job, she didn't do that. And so, yeah, definitely she needs to be held accountable for her actions currently. And I'm glad that Georgia did the right thing, unlike other states. And they held individuals accountable for their actions. So looks like Georgia is this week's up and coming state.
Yeah, shout out to the GBI, because in the news story that I read, I want to say it was like NBC or CBS, one of the two. They were saying that once the GBI took over the case, after the video was leaked to that Brunswick radio station, that's when everything really started to surface. And she's definitely being brought up on these charges or what have you. I think just looking at the whole thing in its totality, I know when we talked about Kyle Rittenhouse last week, how I felt that him being a vigilante, quote unquote, and being basically let go and free to roam and do whatever he's doing, it could possibly received as a dog whistle or be a dog whistle to white supremacists and other vigilantes or what have you. Hopefully this sort of counters that, and the fact that, people, first off, that these three guys were, convicted on it. And then this lady is now being brought up on charges or what have you, that, just as many people that are, supporting and for this white supremacist movement, if you will, there's still an abundance of us that are anti-against it, and that the law does uphold people in terms of just good justice. If you will. So, I remain hopeful. However, I will say, digging into this lady's, I guess, I don't want to say career, but just how the whole thing transpired, I hope they do more investigation behind what delayed her into doing it, because I feel like she was just in cahoots, like for, just a lot of high officials in Brunswick, Georgia, even they were sort of alluding to the fact that the 3 guys that were convicted for the murder of Arbery were sort of, you know, sending her that video to sort of validate themselves on why they aren't, you know, guilty or what have you. So it's a lot of fishiness just around just that timeline. So I hope some more, you know, details come up around it.
And I also will say that I will give, again, I like to give credit where credit is due, and I do applaud the Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, who is a Republican, who actually sought for this indictment of this charge. He was actually seeking an investigation about why, about possible misconduct in the local prosecutors and them taking this case, and so he fought that. But we also need to take under consideration and be mindful that this is not over for them, because part 1 is on. They have federal charges they now have to stand against starting next month. And so it's not done for them yet. And so, you know, we appreciate what happened in Georgia, but now we need to set the precedents across the board. And so with this federal indictment of potential hate crime happening, we need to now see justice done on the federal level as well, so everybody can see that none of you are safe in none of your states. And so commending everybody who was a part of this process, including the Attorney General Chris Carr in his seeking the indictment for this woman here as well.
And I guess I want to ask you all on the same lines, because I've had this conversation this past week. Do we think this is truly a justice, or was this accountability for the vigilante kind of acts? Because justice for me is Ahmaud would still be here to witness this. I think they're just being held accountable for their actions. So I would love to hear y'all thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think justice is white supremacists learning from this situation so that we don't deal with this in the future. And I know that we have come a long way. I know we still have a very long way to go. But yeah, I'm with you. Ahmaud Arbery's family just had to sit through a holiday without him at the table. That's not justice for them. That's not justice for him. That's just people being accountable for being murderers. And so it's tough.
Well, as we seek possible justice for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, for his family, for his friends, and for those who loved him, we're also talking about a type of justice being proposed by a brand new law named Bentley's Law. Zach Thomas, tell us about that. And before you tell us about Bentley's Law, Candace said this is accountability. She agrees with both of you. Justice would be a complete overhaul of the system. I'm inclined to agree more with Candy. I don't believe that justice would necessarily be that Ahmaud Arbery is alive, because if he was alive, you wouldn't need justice. That's not how the definition of the term works. But this is how justice really will be served, is that you change how law enforcement happens. In order for there to be justice, there has to be a violation of the law. But that law should work equally for all people, whether or not you have video surveillance or not. And hello, glad that you could join us as well. Zach Thomas, are we going to get justice with Bentley's Law? Tell us about it.
That's actually mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vince.
No sweat. Yeah, so Bentley's Law. So a grandmother in Missouri lost her son and daughter-in-law, and as well as their youngest child, by a drunk driver car accident. She's now working with Missouri lawmakers on passing this law called the Bentley's Law. The Bentley's Law was named after the daughter that unfortunately lost her life to the drunk driver. And what this law basically entails, that in the event that a parent of a child is murdered by a drunk driver, that drunk driver has to pay child support for that child, you know, with the absence of their parents until that child is the age of 18. So, you know, the story definitely struck me, because I've sort of always wondered, like, is there some type of anything, you know, just to sort of assist children that do or have lost their parents in a tremendous, you know, accident, murder darn near, such as this. So I just really wanted to get your thoughts around it, and then just the other idea of, in the event that a drunk driver is convicted for murdering, you know, the parent or whatever the case is, and they're already in jail, like financially, how would that look if you're already locked up for the murder? Do you have the finances to still, you know, do the child support for that child until they're 18? And also, just to further the conversation, the Missouri lawmakers are actually leaning towards making this a law, and Tennessee is actually wanting to adapt this as well. And I know that the grandmother is aiming to have this as a nationwide, you know, situation as well. So yeah, let's talk about it.
You know, you can't. Is the law good? Yes, that's justice. This would be another example of justice. However, it's not necessarily practical. What this looks like, gentlemen, to me, is a situation of political pandering for what's popular, probably by whatever lawmakers are trying to pass the law and others who are going to adopt the law to make it happen. But is this really going to be enforceable? Highly unlikely. If this man or the women or whoever is drunk driving goes to jail, they are very unlikely to be able to have the financial resources to provide restitution to the victims moving forward. So this would be a case where you won't have good law enforcement and the victims really wouldn't get real justice. Now, is there justice that could be held? Yes. Making the murderer go to jail, absolutely. And then having the culpable parties pay restitution would be the answer. So if you get drunk at a bar or a restaurant and you were served too much alcohol beyond what is illegally allowable, that restaurant or that bar is responsible for paying for the families. That would be perhaps a better type of law that could be enforced, but no one's going to want to pass that because now you're hurting businesses.
And Zach, I was literally, because I was with you, and I do believe that I think theoretically it is a good law. I think ultimately putting something in place in this to protect those families is great. But again, it just doesn't make sense of how you're able to do it. I was even thinking about what would that even look like for states. This is why we say, you know, I tell people all your constitutional positions that you run for are important, because I was curious to know what would it look like maybe for the insurance commissioner of that state to see, is there something that could be done on the insurance side where the insurance has to actually pay for the person who was killed. So that may be something that the insurance commissioners or those persons who are doing that work could rectify that in those and work with the legislators to actually get something done that way. So that's another thing I would look at the insurance company and see if you can actually work it to where the insurance companies would actually have to pay it, which I think would then also deter these people from actually doing these things, because now your insurance company have to pay it.
And really quickly to jump in, like, I know we're talking hypotheticals right now, but say that person that committed the drunk driving murderer situation has a spouse. Like, and they're still they're not in jail and they're still, you know, having income and revenue. Should that onus be on them? And also, do you feel that this law could possibly be in place as, I don't want to say fear mongering, but like a consequence for people not to even sort of consider you know, drunk driving because of already the possible consequences that come off of it with in addition to this added on, you know, type thing?
No.
Yeah, absolutely not making the spouse pay for it. Absolutely not. And here's an example, Vince. Would it be a deterrent? Possibly, but look at how many bad laws have been passed with the intention of being a deterrent that actually did severe harm to communities. Exactly. An example would be the 3 strikes law. Look at how that hurt Black and brown communities because it was weaponized against us. And I don't care what the law is, they're going to find a way to put it against us anyway.
Right. And people who drink and drive are just going to drink and drive. No one is drinking and driving thinking that they're going to kill someone. So I don't think that, you know, that's even crossing someone's mind is that, oh, Lord, I might, you know, kill someone and have to pay their child support for the rest of their, you know, childhood. No one's going to be thinking like that.
So, we have running. We're running from holding people really accountable in the last two articles to now talking about the Atlanta mayoral runoff. Really, before we go into that, we're going to cue this up to Dr. Pickett. Dr. Pickett is very active in the Atlanta municipal scene, as he is in the whole entire state of Georgia. So I'm really excited to, we saved this runoff until tonight. We were waiting to the very last minute by design for a lot of reasons. And so tonight we're going to finally talk about it and address it right here on the Five Guys on Live. While Dr. Pickett gets queued up, we have here Lydia saying, hey, sweetheart, you also have to take into account the fact that taxpayer dollars are funding prisons. So there would definitely have to be some compromise between federal and state governments for this law to go into effect and have a real impact. Additionally, Katie said Uber and Lyft have done more to reduce drunk driving than any other law ever put on the books. And that too is probably a pretty brilliant point in that this service is provided. It's easy to get, makes it very, very easy to find your way home. Easier, of course, in a place like Atlanta, in a city like Atlanta, than a taxi or a cab. Dr. Pickett, they're in the runoff. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, so tomorrow is a big day for the city of Atlanta. And we're going to talk about these two, but I also want to bring up the other races that are coming in on tomorrow as well, because of the fact they are just as important, because it means nothing to have a mayor in position and not have people who can actually do the work, boots on the ground. The mayor is what we call figurehead, and the people and the boots on the ground are those individuals. So you still have for post seat 3, which is Andre's seat that he's relieving, Keisha Waits, who's running, and Jackie Labatt, who is the sheriff's wife. Keisha Waits is a former state representative in the District 60. Then District 3, that's Jason Winston and Nathan Clubb. District 4, Erica Estrada and Byron Amos, who used to serve on the school board. District 5, Cleta Winslow and Jason Dozier, who ran against her last time and pretty much took her into a runoff last 4 years ago and brought her back into a runoff. Amanda Mahoney and Liliana Bakhtiari in District 12. In District 5. In District 12, you have Antonio Lewis and Joy Shepard. And then, of course, school board, you have Aretta Baldwin and Keisha Carey. And District 7 at large, you have Tamara Jones and Casey Venning. Now, those individuals who are running for all those seats. But for mayor, you see these two it was District 4. I had them backwards. I had them written down. District 4 was the Liliana Bakhtiari and Amanda Mahoney. So everything was up one, my bad. But Andre Dickens and Felicia Moore. So you kind of have a tale of two cities, if you will. I call them the tale of two cities because of the fact that you have Andre Dickens, who is homegrown, hometown boy, who's from here, Mays High alum. Of course, you have Felicia Moore, who's probably the most decorated right now city council person, who served 2 decades on the Atlanta City Council, represented the west side and the northwest corner of Atlanta in District 9. In 2018, she was officially made the president of the city council, and she made the decision before sitting Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms made the decision to decide to run for mayor. She was going to challenge her at the time, and she touts herself for being the champion of transparency and clean government. On the flip side, you have Andre Dickens, who is, again, city at large, ran in 2013 for city at large, won, has been on the council since 2013, officially 2014 when he was sworn in, is known as the labor guy about transportation and also technology. In 2017, he actually helped establish the $15 minimum wage in the city of Atlanta. And so that's how, and he's literally pushing to actually have the city have its own Department of Labor and really pushing for that. Currently, the city is in a standstill because of the fact that they have two individuals that, for the most part, the city love, and you can't go wrong with either of them, but both of them have their flaws. You have one group of individuals do not like Andre Dickens because of the fact that he voted for this cop city. and that was something that was not pleasant to persons who are progressives, as well as individuals who are supporting a lot of the defund police initiatives. On the flip side, you have the group with Felicia Moore, who are stating that, she has voted down some key elements, including but not limited to areas where it comes to silencing some of the individuals through public comments and some of the other areas. And so at the end of the day, you have, again, two sectors of the table that are running. Now you have all the mayors since for the last 20 something years are all endorsing Andre Dickens. You have and a lot of the people who endorse Kasim Reed and a lot of people who endorse Keisha Lance Bottoms are all endorsing him. And then, of course, you have a couple of people who aren't all the huge names, but they are endorsing Felicia Moore. So the question I have, we did all this education, all this information the question is, do you think it matters who we get in this seat tomorrow for the city of Atlanta because of where we sit with both of them? That's one. And two, if it does matter, what direction should the city be going in currently?
So, I want to say this. I have not made it a secret that I'm not a fan of Andre Dickens previously. I felt that he was a very weak member of the city council during his tenure. I also want to go on record to say that I firmly feel as though Andre Dickens will win this election. He will be the next mayor of Atlanta. I do not think that he is prepared to be the mayor of Atlanta, and I do not think that he's going to do a great job. I appreciate, DeAndre, how wonderful you laid that out, because there's a lot of false claims and rumors out there, and you do your research, you're thorough. You didn't hit on any one of them. You didn't share or perpetuate them, and I applaud you for that. Here's one of those rumors, Janoris, is that she's going to hit on small business and entertainment. That's just a rumor that came up, and I researched this. She addressed this multiple times. I don't like dirty municipal politics, and it's out there. It's there. I'm not saying that Andre Dickens put these false rumors out there about what Felicia Moore didn't say, but I do firmly believe that he didn't do anything to dispel them, and that concerns me, because it doesn't have to be based on lies. You being mayor of Atlanta should be based upon your work and your plans for what you will do for the city. I do not believe either of these candidates, Felicia nor Andre, will be a great mayor. But I do believe that Felicia is perhaps more prepared to be mayor. Neither of them are people that I would want to see leading the city that Keisha Lance Bottoms currently leads. But
I thought my friend was in it.
Andre and Felicia look like, I'm going to pull them up right here. Both of them look like they can make macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, I'm about to speak over the other Zach real quick. I'm talking about the Zach Thomas. I'm about to speak over that Zach Thomas real quick, because I heard the foolishness he's about to introduce into this conversation, and we bind that spirit of confusion that you are about to bring forth. So, with that being said, the one thing I will say
now I can't talk.
Right, because because you operate in a foolish spirit.
Yes,
but I
will
say this, Zach. I will say this, Zach Kirk, that though I agree to a degree, I will say, though, that I think this right now, these two persons as mayor, one of them will be what the city needs at this current moment. Because there is a city, the city has lost some faith in some of it. And one thing you can say about both of these individuals, not saying that Keisha doesn't, but the one thing you can say about both of these mayors is they have a true love for the city and the true love for the people, and they are fighters. Felicia Moore, you cannot say is not a fighter. Felicia Moore has stood up to every mayor since pretty much, yeah, Shirley Franklin. She even stood up against Shirley Franklin. Stood up against Kasim Reed, stood up against Keisha Lance Bottoms. And so she has not had no secret in being transparent and making sure she held them all accountable. That in some instances has been a problem with some people. On the flip side, you have a individual like Andre Dickens, who really is bringing life back to, he's not the most exciting candidate, if you will. But sometimes, you know, we're dealing with that right now in the White House. We don't have the most exciting candidate, but he was the candidate we needed for this current moment. So at this juncture, that's kind of where I believe we have the candidates. I'm trying not to look at that comment. We have the candidates for what we need at this current moment. And so I think both of them, you can't go wrong either way.
We got more than enough.
Yeah. Merciful Jesus.
If I could just have 2 years of Keisha continuing course, I would be a happy man.
Well, blame that on Keisha. She had the ability to run for re-election.
No, Keisha. All of them could pack it up and go home. Oh, but I did find out. Yes. Oh, I'm on. You can hear me.
Go ahead. I want you. Go ahead.
Zach, you can't hear me, Zach? Oh, okay. No, I was in church yesterday and I found out that Andre Dickens is a deacon. I said, okay, we might have a deacon for a mayor.
Yes, at Providence Baptist.
No, not Providence, at Antioch.
Oh, he's at Antioch now. Oh, he's at Antioch. Okay.
He's
Antioch. I think he's right. He's at Antioch now.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't jump cities the way he jumps churches.
Well, no, don't do that, because I think he's been at Antioch for a while. I think he's been at Antioch for a while.
It don't matter as long as.
But the other thing I will say, and I want to say this as well, as far as it comes to that's the city council president race, because a lot of people has been saying that, you know, we don't need a white man going, you know, we don't need a white person going into taking over the city council presidency, because if anything should ever happen to the mayor, then the city council president comes. I disagree with that, particularly with this particular candidate, because this particular candidate, and I'm not saying who to vote for, I'm just saying for both ends, this particular candidate has been literally fighting for people, you know, for us. He has been fighting for us, as Zach would say, as an ally for the longest. And when I tell you, he has spoken sometimes louder than some of us in some of these regards. He also was very instrumental with bringing forth and putting the Center for Human and Civil Rights here in our city. He actually worked. One of the things he talked about this, he actually utilized a lot of his work that he did. He was very adamant about taking the work from Bayard Rustin and really utilizing that to make that be something that he used when he was in college and got his degree in theology. And so don't always assume that just because, you know, somebody white may be on a ticket that they don't have the ability to do what's right for the city. I don't necessarily go with that. And I still think he would be decent for the city should he get that in, or if Nala gets it as well, either one.
Katie, I see these emojis down there. What's the T?
So, Dr. Pickett, if I may ask, like, I mean, I stay in quote unquote binding, so I can't vote. But just looking at from the outside looking in, if you will, going into the first round of the election, I really didn't see a lot of quote unquote celebrity buy-in, if you will, the celebrity factor. Mm-hmm. But now you have like T.I. and Jeezy and everybody endorsing Andre. Like T.I. legit just posted, I guess to what you just dispelled, Zach, about Felicia saying, I guess a report came out, woman running for Atlanta mayor promises to close all strip clubs. And T.I.'s like, well, y'all know who to vote for tomorrow. Clearly vote for Andre. And Jeezy, you know, it's like vote for Andre, yada, yada, yada. So do you think now that we have these, because I will say Atlanta celebrities do have some type of influence with the vote.
They didn't do enough for Kasim.
But a lot of people weren't, like, the only person I saw Kasim was like Phaedra. You know, I'm talking about like
it was all of them.
Was it all of them?
Yeah. Everybody who's
I didn't know that. That guy said I'm outside looking in. So, but do you feel that factor will assist Andre to garner those Kasim votes then?
20% of voters were, we had, I think, a black turnout of less than 20%. And we certainly had a young turnout, those who would be more likely to be progressive, that was well under, I want to say 18%. So this election, yes, the celebrities saying these things make a difference, but will it make a huge difference? Probably not. To what extent are they running with false news? Or did they create the false news? I can't tell you that. But what I will say is that I think it's going to come down to who can get the people out to vote. That's going to make the difference. And again, I don't know if Felicia said this. I just know I can find no record of it. And she did a phenomenal job tonight of a live cast she did with our friend, Alfred Shivy Brooks, where she said all of this is false, and they've been lying on me ever since we made the runoff. She said that Andre Dickens and I were friends, and this is taking their friendship to a different place that isn't positive. She did a great job, in her interview with Shivy, where she really broke down everything people were saying and how it wasn't true. And also, one thing that she talked about that I think is fair to repeat is that a lot of her support coming from Buckhead and white neighborhoods is being talked about. They're not talking about the support she got in the black neighborhoods. And they're not talking about on purpose how, as DeAndre shared, her district went from Buckhead down. So when you serve constituents directly and you do a good job, they are going to support you. And that's what we see with Felicia Moore. And again, I'm not endorsing Felicia Moore or saying vote for Felicia Moore. I don't think either one of them will do a good job. I am saying, however, vote for Natalie Archibald. I also know her personally. I worked with her daughter at Frederick Douglass High School. And she is a phenomenal mom. Her daughter's a phenomenal teacher, and it was great to meet her. And I think that she has done a great job serving our city and will continue to do a great job as city council president.
The very last thing I'll say to this point is we talked about it again throughout the entire night so far. You also need to make sure when you go to that ballot, don't just go in there and be focused on who's going to run for mayor. There are seats on that council that make most of the decisions. Please make sure that you are putting people in those positions that not only have the desire to do the work for the people, but know how to do the work for the people. Check their backgrounds, understand who they are, and know what they're about. This is not the time to be putting people in there because they're a nice person. They watched your baby, them since high school. And this is the time to really put people in position who really are going to do the work for the people and not try to throw a rock and hide their hand. This is not the time for that, because as Zach is saying, if you're going to have two, for the lack of better terms, weaker mayors, you can't have a weak council too. You got to have one of them got to be strong. So you have to have a strong council who can do the work and also make sure that they're able to support and fight against that mayor, if you will. So please make sure that you do some last minute education on these candidates going in. I'm not talking about anyone specific. I'm just saying you need to make sure that every candidate is looked at before you go cast that vote.
So anybody else wanting to weigh in on the next mayor of Atlanta? And we will know our next mayor probably tomorrow night. I don't anticipate this will be a close election. I also don't anticipate there will be large voter turnout. So I think that we will know relatively early who our mayor will be. And I wrap whoever that person is in hopes and prayers for a better city. You're right. And informed voters are the only ones that can do this and pull ourselves out of it. Don't know if they will. But I do know that informed players are also running. Tonight's theme is running, right? We have running from the law. We have here running from justice. We have here running for mayor. And now we have running from racism right here. And so Zach Thomas, tell us about a young man named Tony Humphrey at Iona Prep School, who is a very fast baseball player, and how his coach thought he became so skilled on the mound.
So yes, as you mentioned, Tony Humphreys, a 16-year-old star baseball player at Iona Prep School in New York, is now transferring schools solely because of a racist remark that was given to him by his school assistant athletic director. The young man wanted to join track, and he wanted to gain some more skills and be faster. And the athletic director told him that, oh, you're already fast. You're fast enough. And you got fast by running from the police. And so he thought that was racist. And so this macro aggression that he actually endured led to him now wanting to transfer schools. They issued a statement saying that the athletic director has now resigned from his post. But I want to know from you all, the guys, what do you think about these statements being made to young, impressionable students but then also what training is needed for schools, educators, administrators around diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. So yes.
He need to get that ass whooped. I'm sorry. If any one of my teachers, band directors, coaches would have said that to me, mama, daddy, cousins, Ray, all of them, you get your ass whooped and then you can resign.
I don't know if there's a training that can like mitigate ignorance. This is some stuff that they've heard for a long time or something that they felt for a long time. I know that someone, so my brothers and I all attended HBCUs. All three of our HBCUs were private. And there was someone at my high school who approached my mom and asked her, how can you afford to have 3 boys in private school at one time? You must be selling drugs. And exactly, you can only imagine what the reaction was, but it is those types of macroaggressions that people have gotten away with for so long that it's like second nature to them. They say something like that, don't even realize that it's truly offensive. And so I don't know if there's a type of training that can help that kind of ignorance. But I do think that in situations like this, before you can resign, you should be fired.
Before you resign, you should be fired.
Yeah, before you resign, right? You should even have the option to resign and maintain your pension, retirement, any of those systems, that may exist. And here's the thing: I don't believe that this man said this from like a place. It was malicious. Let me word myself right. But I don't think that he intended for this young man to understand that it was malicious. I don't think that he thought this young man would see it as an ignorant joke.
Right.
And it would be something funny. And those are the type of microaggressions that are macroaggressions that young children have to deal with every single day of their lives. And sometimes it's racial, sometimes it's about appearance, sometimes it's about socioeconomic factors, but but whatever it is, it shouldn't be happening in schools. And more of these stories to come to light. More young people should have the fortitude and be as woke as this young man, so that we can stop these things from happening in schools, and educators can be focused on what they should be doing, what they're paid to do, which is educating. There is nothing wrong with a little humor in the classroom. As Lydia will tell you, I was lots of humor, very funny, but the focus is not the humor or your racist jokes for your colleagues or dog whistles that you're trying to put out there. It's about the work that you do. So I'm very proud of this young man. I'm proud of his parents for raising him in such a way, and for the community that is supporting him. I agree.
And so the reason I bring this to you, because more and more issues like this are coming to light within the school systems. Like I think we recently talked about the teacher who dressed up in as an Indian to teach a class, and like
an Indigenous American.
Well, Indigenous American, but she had on her headdress and everything, and was yelling and doing a call. And so like there is, I know training does not work for everything, but there needs to be some ongoing education that needs to happen around these topics, because it's 2021.
And then Zach, you have to think about this concept of this is just one situation. A lot of these young people, especially because of the fact that we've talked about this a lot when it comes to being accepted to D1 institutions. This particular, what is it? No, how does it look when a lot of these young people who are going through these issues or hearing these in the past have to sit back on that, and they have to take these things so they can stay at these schools so they can make it to a D1 institution? Because the scouts may not come. And now this young man's situation is brought to light, so I'm sure he's going to be looked at. But what about these young men who don't have the fortitude, who doesn't have the family and the parents who've taught them these things, to have that backbone, to have that voice for yourself, who have to sit back and take those things? What about those young people who have to sit there and do that, and exposing them across? So I think beyond the training of these educators, I think we also need to do some conversation with these young people to learn, and teaching them also, teaching them other options, other opportunities that afford them. But again, that goes to doing things like, again, appreciating a person like a Eddie Robinson Jr., who's now the new coach at Alabama State University football team, who's actually these people are coming back to these HBCUs, these institutions, and they're going after those schools and those places where those young people are. And so we have to start showing them that, listen, you don't have to take this just to go to this school. We have to start providing these other opportunities for these young people. So
Talk about it.
And so I hate it that it's the case, but we have to start providing these other options, these other opportunities for these young people for them to succeed as well.
And I think that's appropriate, right? I think there is nothing wrong, right, with you helping your friends grow and get better. And I think that is the work that we do for our friends, because sometimes people may not even know what they're doing is offensive or is racist.
Right.
And that is our work, and that's what we can do. But then they must do their part to also continue their education and continue to grow and continue to self-correct, to be the best versions of themselves. But ultimately, like Katie said earlier, there is no amount of training that we can do that can fix some of this level of stupidity. This man knew what he was saying was ignorant as hell, and he still let those words come out of his mouth. So this is the time to cancel. There is no counsel for this man. It is time to cancel this man. But guess what? Not only is it time to cancel this man, well, you know what? Sometimes you don't have to cancel, because they will cancel themselves. And this is a situation from Italy that kind of dovetails into some more current breaking news. And this is what happened. We had in Italy, if you have already had COVID-19, you get something that is called a, look at this. Look, we got another exact time. Okay, let's just take a, wait. Let's just take a damn moment to acknowledge the Zach Thomas fan club here tonight.
Okay.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, this is
the fan club of one.
Renard McElroy. He goes by CJ, and he just received his doctoral degree from the University of Texas. That's the one in Austin, right? University of Texas. So we're very proud of Dr. McElroy. Congratulations to our mutual friend CJ, who obviously doesn't like my voice as much as the second Zach. Now, back to the point I was making before I chose to interrupt myself. If you have contracted COVID-19 in Italy, you get what's called a green card that's just as effective for your passage and travel as a vaccination card. So what's now happening, people in Italy are choosing to go to COVID-19 parties. We had some of this happening in America, in Alabama, and different places early in the pandemic. And it's still happening in Italy. A 55-year-old man went to the COVID party, contracted COVID-19, and then he died. Katie, we will make sure that you get the Zach Thomas pen. We will make sure of that. And so this brings up questions about the level of disinformation that's out there, kind of like really highlighting the things and that's there. I'm hearing a number of people saying that they would rather just get COVID and get it over with. But I want to know, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the vaccine and boosters, especially as we approach the possibility of the Omicron variant, which we think is in America but has yet to be proven, taking hold during this cold and flu season?
We's tired, boss.
I'm telling you, like, what is going on?
The saints of God are tired. When I roam the malls of Lenox delivering my cheesecakes, and I just see the enormous amount of people not wearing masks, like I think America is just tired at this point. And we called it when the Delta variant came out. We was gonna go through the whole Greek alphabet, Beta, Sigma, Alpha, everybody, Divine Nine, Step Show, HBCU homecoming. Everything was gonna happen. We was gonna get all the variants at one time, not at one time, but develop ever so often. And it's just like at this point, it's like, bro, like
with Omicron, because I don't want Zeta. Z-Kitty is coming. I don't want Zeta. I do not want the Zetas.
Because they come with fierce and they're finer. Them Zetas come with finer.
Because you gotta go to Lenox before noon. That's what you gotta do. You can't be up in there when the rest of the folk is working. That's when you're gonna do.
He said, roaming the halls of Linux.
I'm just saying, but
Never know
Zach,
that. It's not the horn on them.
I think the country is tired. The world is tired. Outside of Italy, I don't know what other European nation had that. Was it Turkey or Belarus? Somebody just had that huge protest, and they were like water hosing people out in the streets because of the COVID. Yeah, Austria, because of the COVID lockdown. Like, people we just tired, and it's like we can believe the science and grow with the science and let it evolve and get vaccinated and get all this stuff. And if it ain't going nowhere, it's just not going nowhere. And
yeah, Deborah makes a good point. We can't speak through a pandemic. In the very beginning, the research said the typical pandemic takes about 4 years to run its course, and this is the course of our American life, of our life on this planet at this time. We've seen some great advances in the world, but one thing that we can't ever beat is God's plan for humanity. So I agree that you can't speed through it. But what you can do is make good, smart decisions to protect yourself. I went today and received my booster. I didn't want the booster. I'm going to be honest with you. I spoke to Zach Thomas about this. I didn't want the booster. I literally said, like a dumbass, maybe I should just get COVID so that I would have it in my body with my previous vaccines, and maybe I would be immune from other variants. But because I have not had COVID. I've not contracted COVID-19. I've gotten both of my Pfizer shots. I got them in March. It is now 8 months later, time for me to get the booster. I went and got the booster based upon the information and the research that I did see this weekend. Dr. Fauci was on making the rounds. I paid attention. I also did my research on Omicron as well. And so absolutely went out and got it. And I'm not feeling anything yet. I have 0 symptoms yet. Shot number 1, I had swollen lymph nodes under my arm. Shot number 2, I had extreme fatigue and lethargy. Booster, nothing yet. But many people say you get it the next day. So I am drinking my immunity boosting tea, and I'm taking 2 Advil on a regular basis because I have work to do. Bills have to be paid. So again, even with that, like Deborah said, despite being vaccinated and despite being boosted, I'm still going to wear my mask, and I'm still going to take precautions because we don't know what Omicron will do. Some people are claiming that it's seeming to have mild symptoms but greater transmissibility. But again, I don't want to take any risk or chances because again, it's only a matter of time before we get Zeta and the other variants that are bound to come forth. That's just how it works. If everybody was vaccinated or had already contracted COVID-19, we probably would be at a point where we wouldn't be having variants happen. But with less than 50% of Georgians vaccinated, we know that we have a long way to go before we even approach anything like herd immunity in this country.
And when you think about the COVID and the vaccination, and this is no comparison, but when you think about where we're still in, the things that we're going through still are not out the weeds. On this Wednesday, we are honoring and recognizing World AIDS Day. And this will be the 40th anniversary here in the city of Atlanta. And the thing with it is there are people who can tell you stories of friends that they lost because they were not familiar with what was going on, and because people weren't taking it serious, and people were just saying, "Oh, it's a cold or it'll pass." These things people are still having the issue. There's people here, and we thank God there are people here to still tell the story. But though at those moments, we're further along than we were 40 years ago. And because we are further along than we are 40 years ago, we still have to, however, make sure that we're doing all that we can to protect ourselves and be adherent to, what's being told of us by the professionals. And so I am, in whatever case may be, we talk about this often on this show, take precautions in whatever capacity that is. If you do whatever you feel is best for you. But do not get upset with people who do what's best for them, i.e. getting boosters, take vaccinations. If you're not going to do those, still take the precautionary measures to protect those that you love or you say that you love. And that's something that we wish that was a conversation 40 years ago, but we still stand here today being able to honor all those lives lost for COVID, but also those lives who are lost with HIV and AIDS epidemic and pandemic and all those things that were going on. So we just ask you to continue to check your health and make sure you're just doing what's best for you and the people that you love.
A small number of Nigerians, just like a small number of Americans, small number. Gentlemen, I think that, is there any other discussion on this topic? Any Omicron questions there? Again, I've been doing lots of research, and I think Deborah, again, makes a really good point. I'm glad you brought this up. We have to get the vaccines in Africa. This was something that President Biden had talked about early on. It was shut down by the American people. People didn't want to hear giving away vaccines to countries that are not as developed as the United States of America. But now we realize that it's going to be a problem all across the world. Until the pandemic is over everywhere, it isn't over anywhere. And that's the nature of what's happened. One thing before we go to Darius with today's Black History Fact, as we give Black History 365 days a year, it was a lot of talk today about President Biden's ban on 8 African countries from entering into the United States, with a number of people saying it was anti-Blackness and it was racist. And so, June, I want to know your thoughts on that, because again, other countries have had outbreaks, but they weren't banned from entering the United States of America. Namely, this may have been, I'm trying to think back too, is this his first as president with an outbreak or new variant forming? And actually it is. And what I was going to, and my answer to that just really briefly is this. President Biden, if you only ban the 8 African countries, yes, that is kind of anti-Black. But you really need to ban every country, everybody. You can't come, you should not, I'm going to get big for this, real, just give me a moment. You should not come to the United States of America if you are not vaccinated, period. You shouldn't be allowed entry to this country. I can't go to several foreign countries, period, because I'm an American, period. I looked it up, can't go. They won't allow me in the country. Then there are many countries that will only allow me entry if I'm vaccinated. The United States of America should have the exact same policy in place for foreign travelers seeking entry to our country. We cannot make every American citizen get vaccinated because they have rights and guarantees and choices to make. But when you are not a citizen of the United States of America and you are a foreign country citizen, we can make you abide by these laws. And that is what Joe Biden and the American government should be doing to keep.
How is that equity, Zach? How is that equity? Like, if we are making them abide by the same, like if we're not mandating every American to get vaccinated, I think you should do like they do in Mexico. You have to be vaccinated or you have to have the test to come. Yes, I agree with that. But to say that everyone who comes into the United States needs to be vaccinated, because there are various religious beliefs why people don't get the vaccine. There are medical reasons why people don't get the vaccine. So to mandate everyone who wants to come into the United States to have the vaccine without knowing that history, I think is unfair to say.
You can't come here if you are unvaccinated, in my opinion. I don't care about your religious exemption when you're not an American citizen. And I don't care about your health requirements and illnesses if you're not an American citizen, because you're putting me and my loved ones at risk. We want to stop the pandemic in America so that we can get on with our American lives. And we're never going to be able to do that when we allow these borders to remain open. You have a whole entire party built around protecting America from people illegally crossing into borders. I want to see America protecting people coming in with COVID-19. This is just where Zach and Zach don't agree.
But you're not saying the same thing for Keisha that's down the street from you.
Keisha has rights as an American
vaccinated. She's the one next to you in the classroom, in the grocery store, in the church. Like,
you know that I want Keisha and Karen to be vaccinated. However, I acknowledge the fact that in America, we cannot do that without sweeping legislation. However, President Joseph R. Biden can pass an executive order to block people from entering into our country without a COVID-19 vaccine, just as other countries have done. I want to go to Spain. I can't go. Can't get into Spain without a vaccine.
Not build the wall, Darius. Leave that wall out of this. That wall. Now, how did I get in it? That's what that wall was saying. But now,
You did nothing.
I ain't even in the. But now, Zach, I'm gonna say this. I feel that the ban being placed on the African nations, rooted because South Africa discovered the Omicron variant, and then they just, did all those bordering nations just to sort of, I guess, encompass all that together. If they do not put a travel block on Belgium, Hong Kong, Israel, Italy, and them other 5 nations that have had them outbreaks, then I would definitely side with you on why y'all doing it to the black countries. I'm going to definitely hop on that bandwagon, but I just feel that due to the coronavirus response team, that they just made that decision just because it originated in that space. And I know Dr. Fauci also said to give them 2 weeks to get, their own science and thoughts and blah, blah, blah around it. And then they can, they'll start to develop more. But yeah, I get where you're going. I'll hop on. Let's ask this question next week. I'll see what bandwagon I'm on.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying ban any country. Don't make it country specific. Make it about everyone who isn't. If you're not vaccinated, you can't come into America. I had to do work in both New York City as well as Los Angeles, and I could not get a hotel room if I wasn't vaccinated in those 2 cities. I had to literally, in order to gain entry into any restaurant, I had to present my vaccine passport, my card. And everyone there had it on their phones, but in Georgia, we're not allowed those technological advances because of the fuckery that is Brian Kemp. But I could not, even enter into a restaurant or get a hotel room. What makes it so that we can't have requirements to enter the country without the vaccine if I can't get a hotel room in this country without the vaccine? That is what
because not everyone can afford the vaccine. Not everyone has the vaccine.
That is what it takes to protect the American people.
But Zach, you act like they just got to come over here. You don't need to be vacationing over here if you not well.
Equity.
You don't have to be vacationing in the United States of America in the middle of a pandemic.
And you ain't got to be going over to Spain either.
I'm not. I can't get in. They won't let me come.
Or Paris or London. People want to live.
But they don't have to come to the United States. In the middle.
Why they don't have to come to the United States?
Well, it's a pandemic. I'm scared to go to the grocery store. You mad because Jim and Bobo can't come over here and
you scared to go to the grocery store, but you ain't scared to go to traffic and all these other places. So let's just go.
There must be someone involved. There must be a Mr. Chocolate. There must be someone involved, like one of those wealthy princes that they have from Kenya and Phaedra on the Housewives. There must be more to the story.
Okay, that's the difference. I'm vaccinated.
Is it vaccinated or back?
I'm vaccinated.
Vaccinated per Karen.
I'm vaccinated.
Vince.
No X.
Oh my God.
What happened?
I'm good. I knocked my camera.
But Zach, I see where Zach Thomas is coming from.
Vacation.
I do feel that in terms of just America, it will be hypocritical for us to still or have a good bulk of our nation still roam around careless, reckless, not even abiding by our own preferences, and we're not even mandating things on our own people.
Thank you.
Okay. Want to mandate somebody coming into the country when we're not even. It's just like that thing. Sweep off. What is it? Sweep in front of your front porch before you sweep off mine. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I think I just think that's how they're looking at it. I don't agree. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I do see the hypocrisy behind it.
It's not hypocritical. We not mad at nobody for saying we can't come over there. Now that would be hypocritical. If we mad, we can't go over there. We mad. Y'all ain't
because we tired of being here. We are. We want to
travel. You want to, but you still.
But the people that's tired is moving to Texas and Florida
and Atlanta.
I haven't gone. I'm dying for a vacation right now. Okay, I want to be on a beach somewhere in some remote island or something or another, but I won't go because we're in the middle of a pandemic. which brings us to our
I don't believe it.
Black History.
I don't believe that, Darius. Shut up. I don't believe that.
You don't believe what?
Nothing.
Yes, I go out the country at least twice a year. I've been stuck up in this country ever since the pandemic started.
You ain't been on no vacation. You ain't been outside the city of Atlanta since the pandemic has
I
started.
said I go outside of the country, Vince.
You said vacation. I'm just thinking you meant just general.
No,
not
I
only
don't
that.
consider it a vacation. If I don't see palm trees and pools, then it's not a vacation.
Oh, so coming up here with no vacation?
No, that was not a vacation. I was there on a business.
That's what they said.
I was there on business. Okay. Just like Ralph Bunche, who's the first person of color, the first African American to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. Bunche, a diplomat and political scientist, began working with the United Nations as early as 1944. He, along with Eleanor Roosevelt, were responsible for the creation of 1948's Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Later, he received his Nobel Peace Prize the next year. So shout out to Ralph Bunche, the first person of color and the first African American to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. Back to you in East Atlanta, Zach.
Right.
Can we also recognize that we lost a giant in fashion too? I just want Virgil. Sorry.
We are going to talk about Virgil on the after show.
Oh,
so
I didn't know.
Out there, you guys know that once we wrap from YouTube and Facebook, we go directly over to Instagram. And the Instagram show is a little bit lighter. We talk about more pop culture-y things on that venue because Instagram has a different audience. You can follow any of our IGs to then look at us live, and it's right here to then check us out in the after show. Vince.
My birthday next Monday.
Are you coming to work?
I don't know.
You need to decide that.
My Founders Day is Saturday.
My birthday. That's all.
So we all need to arrange to have cheesecake on next Monday.
Yeah. We should all have cheesecake on next Monday. And so that Deborah, that might be talked about. You know, I didn't watch because I don't support Nicki Minaj, who also has a birthday. She's a Sagittarius, as does Candace Dillon, who has a birthday coming up next week, as well as, again, Lydia. So many Sags in the house. It's going to be exciting. It would be great to have a Monday night cheesecake party, even if Vince is choosing to celebrate his birthday with loved ones and family members or whatever he chooses to do. So we will all get and that is correct for Zach Thomas. So we will get our cheesecake. Zach, you get a black cheesecake, something chocolate or Oreo or something to celebrate for your Founders Day. I will get my, as always, white chocolate, my preferred flavor. And so we will have our cheesecake party ready to go. Everyone, please join us now on Instagram Live, and we'll see you soon.
Good night.